So hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio and my YouTube channel. And I'm very excited that my guest today even is a fantastically talented actor in the form of Joe Duttine. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello. You're very
How
welcome. How you doing?
Really good, thank you. I mean, how has life been for you? Because obviously this last couple of years, or last year even, has been very, very surreal, very strange. How have you coped with life in lockdown?
Just learn to adapt like everybody else and try and get on with it as best as we possibly can under all the circumstances. It's been very difficult, hasn't it, for everybody? But just try to carry on as normal, I guess, as much as that's possible.
I mean, obviously, you know, when Coronation Street stopped filming for that couple of months, that must have been a bit strange that you were kind of not going into work every day and seeing your colleagues. So, I mean, did you find yourself doing other things during that period?
Yeah, actors are used to being out of work. We used to have a kind of huge chunks of time off, so it was in a way quite nice to get a bit of a break. The weather was good. We were able to do some stuff around the house, so we just turned it into a positive. But like I say, you know, actors can go from months and months and months without working. So that's just something that we've sort of been conditioned to do over the years.
And I imagine that when you eventually got back to work, it must have been a nice feeling to be back on set, although things would be very different, I imagine.
Yeah, it was. We were kind of canaries, as it were, in our industry. We were the first people back. And it was very, very, very different, and there were lots of very strict protocols in place, which were difficult to deal with at first, and to kind of fully get your head round, because they were a little bit restricting, you know, which is kind of hard when you're trying to film domestic environments, being told to stay 2 meters away from somebody. But after a couple of months, we sort of learned how to do it to the best of our ability under those circumstances.
I mean, I imagine as well that you know, because a lot of the storylines involved in the show, you know, I mean, especially I know the storyline obviously with Yasmin and Jeff, and I spoke to both Shelley and Ian over the sort of the past couple of months, and I imagine that doing those sorts of scenes when you can't physically actually touch people and get too close, it must sort of add a new sort of like aspect to the filming of it, but also it kind of adds new challenges as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all prefer, you know, we could have done without this challenge. I don't know how sort of beneficial this challenge was. We're all kind of itching to get back to the kind of normal way of filming, because like I just said, you know, when you're trying to create a domestic environment and you can't touch your wife, or you can't, you know, eat any food or drink anything from a cup, it's a little bit it's a little bit frustrating creatively. So you know, we've not I mean, we've not really kind of what we've kind of learned from the lockdown, I'm hoping we probably won't have to use again.
And I mean, Tim is such a lovable character, you know, so many people love him and love seeing him with Sally. They just make such a great couple. But do you remember the first time you sort of stepped on set, and do you remember how you felt when you first, you know, appeared on the cobbles?
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I ever did Coronation Street was back in way back in, I think it was like 2009, maybe. Was it 2009? Yeah, I did a detective in the Phil McIntyre disappearance or murder storyline, and I remember the first day on Corrie, the police car pulled up outside Jack and Vera's house on the street, Jack and Vera's old house on the street, and it sort of took my breath away. I thought, wow, this is mainstream. Even though I'd had lots of experience doing other things, there's nothing quite like being in a soap opera, because it's so huge and watched by so many people. It is a little bit overwhelming and does get your sort of heart racing a little bit.
And I imagine working with Sally Dynevor must be a lot of fun, because although a lot of people obviously, you know, love her from the Sally and Kevin days, but people really warm to Sally being with Tim. They just seem like a great match.
Yeah, difficult shoes to step into that. You know, they were together for a long time, those two characters. So yeah, I didn't really think that Tim and Sally were going to have any kind of longevity, but the writers just saw something in the two characters and the two actors and thought, yeah, this works. Let's keep this. Let's keep writing for it. And obviously, the more that they do that, the more it gives us to demonstrate what we can do. And we just slowly bedded ourselves in as a couple.
And I mean, they've had their fair share of heartache and things to deal with. I mean, obviously, Tim forgot he was married. He ended up nearly having a bit of a thing with Sally's sister. Sally goes to prison. They've not had an easy ride of it.
No, but that's soap, isn't it? That's what sort of creates the drama for us to play. But no, they haven't really. They have had their ups and downs, but deep down, they really love each other, and they're complete opposites, and that sort of makes for interesting interaction, I would hope.
And also, you get to see Tim's kind of fatherly side with Faye, and I mean, obviously, I know that he obviously wasn't in her life for a big chunk of it, but do you? I mean, I imagine working, with her and getting to do those scenes must be a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's great, Ellie. I've got a lot of time for Ellie, and it is a lot of fun. Although she's off for a bit now because she's. Can I say this? Where's she gone? Yeah, she's got a prison, hasn't she? Yeah. So yes, I've not seen her for a little while. But when I do see her, I do enjoy working with her. She's a nice kid.
Has there been a storyline that for you has been a favourite, or one that you've enjoyed more than maybe the rest, just because it sort of stretches your acting muscles or anything?
There's all sorts of different ones. It was interesting to explore the Jeff and Yasmin story. It was interesting to sort of explore Tim's relationship with his dad. That was interesting to see how, his attitude of him could completely change. I like all the stuff I do with Simon Gregson in the taxi office because that's quite light-hearted. That's quite good fun. The horse storyline was quite entertaining, but that had to go because we couldn't afford to keep using the horse. But I like everything. There's a real mix in Corrie, and everything's so different. It's just all nice to do.
And that's one thing about Coronation Street is obviously they're so good at doing high drama, but then having that comedy in there as well that just really kind of you need that sort of light and shade, and it just works so well on the show. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's important, isn't it? Even during tragic times, people deal with it through humour. Look at people in hospital, nurses in hospital. They've always got a smile on their face, even when they're dealing with people who are very poorly. So it's a coping mechanism for a lot of people, isn't it? Humour.
And I mean, one of the other storylines that's obviously being tackled on screen at the moment, which is so heartbreaking to watch, and obviously we get to see Sally Carman do such an amazing job, is the death of Seb. I mean, for you watching that, how was that for you? Because obviously, it must be hard.
Yeah, I'm really proud of her. I've seen her get up at whatever time in the morning, go to work, come back late at night. I've seen her with scripts in her hands, trying to learn lines. And Coronation Street is unlike anything else on Sally other than the other soaps. And we have a huge amount of work that we need to do, a lot of dialogue that we need to learn. Pages and pages of it are filmed every day. And it's quite a lot of pressure to sort of memorize it. But she's just completely smashed it. She's been coming home, having some food, learning lines, go to bed, and getting up and doing the whole thing again the next day. And now to see it on screen, I just sit there and I watch it, and I'm just very proud of her. I mean, it's a very moving storyline that's required a lot of emotion, and she's just dealing with it brilliantly, I think.
And I mean, speaking to people that, a few people that I've been speaking to, they've just said what an amazing performance from everyone involved. It's such a well portrayed storyline, and it obviously does raise, the issues that are out there. That there is hate crime going on. I mean, obviously, domestic abuse that was going. It's all stuff that is happening in real life. I mean, what's the response like? I mean, I imagine that fans get in contact with you and tell you their stories. What's the response been like?
Oh, I think she's just been inundated with it. I'm not really involved with that story, so I've not really had any interaction with anybody else. But she's getting lots of very interesting feedback from people, and through Twitter and social media, people are reaching out to her, and she's trying to reach out to them, and just say say kind things about it, you know.
Now, I mean, going forward, is there a dream storyline that you would love to be involved in, or something that you would love to see Tim involved in?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind him getting off to the Amalfi Coast for a couple of weeks. That'd be really nice if he just won some money and decided to go on a 2-week vacation to the Amalfi Coast, and obviously could take his wife Sally Metcalfe, but perhaps Sally Carman, perhaps Abby could come with us as well. Maybe perhaps we could tie some story in where, I don't know, we went to rescue somebody from the Amalfi Coast. That'd be brilliant. But I think it's highly unlikely that that'll ever happen. Well, it might, but it might not be the Amalfi Coast. It might be some beach in Manchester Ship Canal. I don't know. There's all sorts of things. I'm not one of the writers. I can think of stories, but it's not really my place to put them in their heads. You know, it's up to them to come up with those stories. I'd like to work with some of the other characters on the street. You tend to have your little bubbles on Corrie, your families, and you just work with those that you're kind of close and dear to. But it would be nice to branch out and perhaps interact with some of the characters that I don't work with that much, you know?
I mean, who would you like to work more with? Which other actors would you like to work with more from the show?
I'd quite like to work with Peter Gunn. I'd quite like to do some more stuff with Chris Gascoigne, Peter Barlow. I'd quite like to do some stuff with some of the other families, maybe the Platts. It'd be nice to do some stuff with them. There's loads of different characters that Tim, over 10 years, hasn't really had much to do with that I'd like to explore.
And I imagine, would you like to work a bit more with Sally Carman? I mean, you get to do little bits here and there, but would you like to have more involvement with her on screen?
No, not really. We're all right as we are, me and Sal. You know, we live together, we share our lives together. We don't really need to work together. We probably just make each other laugh too much, and probably couldn't take it seriously enough. So no, we're all right to leave it where it is, I think.
And I mean, we must just also talk about one of the other partnerships, which we did briefly mention earlier, that I think works so well, was obviously yourself with Simon Gregson, who of course plays Steve. You must love working, because you get so much comedy with him, and it's just and obviously of course Sue Cleaver, who plays Eileen. You must love those kind of sort of streetcar scenes together.
Yeah, they're nice, the streetcar scenes, because obviously it's quite a small set, so there's not a huge amount of variation in the way that we can shoot stuff. So you're very kind of reliant on the dialogue and the characters to entertain, and I like that. So there is a lot of banter, there's a lot of mucking around, and it is just light-hearted stuff that hopefully makes people smile. So yeah, I enjoy that, and you know, those two have been doing it for a long time. You know, Simon's an old hand. He can be a little bit naughty. He always tries to make me laugh, which sometimes is successful. At other times, I'd like to think that he wasn't. But he's good fun, and he's a bit of a mate as well. So it's all happy days, that.
Now, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. But before we go, is there any messages you'd like to give to anyone who is in hospital at the moment?
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to all those people that are looking after you guys, and I just hope that you just, whatever your story is, I just hope that you get well as soon as possible, and I'm just going to send you loads of love. Thank you so much, Joe. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. Of course, keep safe, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.